really disrespectful the way that Christina is cackling, almost like Christina starts cackling almost like, you know, ha ha ha, like I got away with, like, you know, I died like a black person and I still, my white privilege protected me type of shit. Like that's what it came across to me as. It was really disrespectful to me and I really didn't like it. I also don't care to see white people get beat up or brutalized like black people so that they can understand what it is like to be brutalized like a black person. Like I really don't give a fuck, especially if they're gonna live. Like I feel like that scene would have been powerful if we had seen Christina, you know, get, you know, brutalized like a black person and die. For real. I feel like that should have been a scene left for the end and like a season finale. That should not have been like, what is this scene doing here if she's just going to survive? Like, what is the message? Okay, that she survived, she died like a black person and her white privilege protected her and she gets to cackle about it afterwards. Like, what the fuck is this shit? Like, I don't understand the centering of whiteness that goes on in this series, and it's really starting to piss me off. Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. It is your boy Jabbar, the Kakashi Cowboy, back for another review of episode 8, I think it is. This one was called Jigabobo or something like that. That mostly deals with or centers the character of Diana D. This episode was kind of, I'm gonna be honest, it was kind of all over the place for me. None of the characters were really, their actions weren't really making a whole lot of sense necessarily, but I did find some things interesting about how this episode was set up in particular. I also want to talk about some interesting things that developed after the episode that happened off screen. Some issues that happened off screen at the end of this video, but I first want to start with the review and recap of this episode first. So we open to the scene of Emmett Till's funeral that his mother had for him. The white men that killed him were never convicted, nor was the white woman who even started all of this by lying on him in the first place. Bobo and Dee are very close. We see them always hanging out together, and then we open to sort of a picture of Dee, you know, Diana just looking completely distraught, completely in shock, completely just heartbroken and in horror at the fact that, you know, her best friend was murdered so brutally, and now, you know, people are standing in line to go and view the body because of course his mother is having an open casket. If we remember that history, his mother had an open casket so that everybody could see what they had done to her child. We don't actually get to see Emmett Till or the body of Emmett Till and his mange, you know, everybody's sort of seen those pictures before anyway. Tick is more concerned. Like, I don't know what's going on with Tick and what they're doing with Tick's character, but he's been getting on my fucking nerves for the last couple of episodes. He's completely concerned and more concerned about what's going on with Hippolyta, which is understandable, I guess, but he's sort of not very he's not really the most understanding when it comes to like being here for Dee right now. Like, he's sort of concerned with all of these other things that are going on, which is understandable, but he could be a little bit more empathetic. He doesn't know how to be present in moments where people need him emotionally, and Dee sort of just runs off. I guess she just gets tired of them arguing about, she just gets tired of them sort of chattering about shit that doesn't really matter at this point. They're so busy arguing that they don't notice, and they look around and she's gone, and they sort of scramble, oh my goodness, we need to go find Dee. I see that Dee has run off, you know, down the road into the city. She sees two girls sort of laughing and giggling. I think it's two black girls laughing and giggling. I think they went and got some ice cream. She gets annoyed with them. She's like, why the fuck are you laughing? There's nothing, have you not heard the fucking news? Everybody is over at the church right now viewing the body of my best friend that just died. That's what she doesn't say this outright, but you know, you can just tell that this is what she's feeling. Like, why are you, everybody's feeling this right now, and you're laughing and giggling about ice cream. And so she starts throwing rocks at them for them to go away, because she feels like they are mocking her, that they are taunting her, that they are haunting her. These officers are also sitting out. They're sort of anticipating some type of riot from on the other side of town. The police chief and police captain and one of his sort of, you know, henchmen, you know, they see her, they ride by and they see her, you know, walking along, and Dee goes into this alley, and at first I'm like, Jesus Christ, why would you go into an alley? Stay out in the open where everybody can see you. But she goes into the alley, like everybody does in every other horror film. I wish this wasn't so typical in that way. But they catch up with her. They have the book that was left underneath the dead police officer in the I Am episode where Hippolyta went and shot one of the police officers before she got sucked into the portal. They say, "Are you Diana Freeman?" And she's like, "Yeah." And she's like really looking really scared, really terrified. Really just like hopefully they don't kill me. The girl's name is Jada Harris that is playing Dee Diana, and she really played this role. I have to really give like she really did a great job of like, you know, when I said like Anjanou Ellis and Michael K. Williams, like they do a lot of emoting, like she did a lot of emoting, and like to have to act like you're the only one who sees sort of these jigaboos that come out, or these pickaninnies that come out, you know, when we get later into the scene, like, and also to see the horror in her face at things that, you know, probably aren't even there. You know, I think that she did a really great job of emoting and a really great job of acting in this whole entire episode. So hats off to her. Police officers get her, they wrap her in a chokehold. It immediately reminded me of Eric Garner, and seeing him, like I just had, I mean, that scene really, it made me, I immediately had flashbacks of seeing that video of Eric Garner being choked out on the streets of New York. The fact that he feels like he needs to use that much strength to take it to like hold this little girl is just sort of ridiculous, but that's always what we see with police officers. Like the amount of force that they use for the people that they use it against is just sort of ridiculous. Sure, Eric Garner was a bigger guy, but he had his hands up and he wasn't attacking anybody, and yet we see like 6 people jump on his back and like one guy hold on to his throat, and like for no apparent reason at all other than he was outside breaking up a fight. And then there's also this false narrative of him, you know, selling Lucy cigarettes gets spread around, even though that's not what they were stopping him for that day. So they take her, they put her in a chokehold. Chief starts chanting in some like demonic language. It sounds very demonic to me anyway. I was like, girl, put your finger up. And they spit on her. And that's sort of like supposed to be the completion of the spell. And I really like that they also really dig into that and they reference that spitting. Like a lot of people think that spitting, though, that they think, oh, like, you know, spitting is disrespectful because the only place you spit is on the ground and I'm not dirt. But also the reason why people are also, the history behind spitting is that spitting is also, you know, alluded to as being like a part of witchcraft and devil magic and all this other stuff. You know, it's also like cursing. It's also used for cursing. That's the real reason why you don't spit on people, is because, you know, you don't put like any like bad energy, juju, spirits or curses that you have for me, you don't put that on me. Like those are like, that's fighting. That's a fighting action. In that scene, there's this cream of wheat man there, and it's sort of like this sort of minstrel show, kind of like Aunt Jemima or Uncle Ben, and he's holding up this cream of wheat sign. Or it's a poster hanging in the back, and Diana keeps looking at it. It's almost like he is sort of mocking her. And as soon as like Diana moves away, like she keeps looking at it as if it is looking right back at her, mocking her in the same way that she thought that the girls that bought the ice cream, that are so unaware of what is going on with the current situation of Emmett Till dying and being so brutally murdered, we're mocking her. Like now this like painting seems to be mocking her, and she thinks it's looking at her, and it actually, like, I freaked out. I was like, did those eyes just move? Like when she left, because they left her alone, they leave her alone, they're like, she's gonna die anyway, just leave her here and she'll just face the consequences of what we put on her. But we see a constant theme of minstrelsy going along with Diana. We see her go back to her apartment. Montrose is there waiting for her. Montrose also seems to be the only one actually interested in finding Dee. Like, they all seem to be interested in finding Dee at first, but Montrose seems to be the only one really interested in finding her. It's also why I like Montrose. Even though he's problematic, like, he does show glimpses that he has a heart. Like, he's not the most, like, he's just a very tortured soul, but he does have a heart. He is a very caring and loving person on the inside. He's dealing with a lot, and we sort of come to find that out a little bit later on. But, you know, he meets her in their apartment. She locks herself in the bathroom. She thinks she sees herself being sort of tormented again by these little black girls, pickaninny girls, on the Uncle Tom's Cabin book. Topsy, I think, is one of what the girls' name. We get the sort of disorienting music. We also get, you know, Montrose banging on the door, yelling for her to open up and like, let's talk and all this other stuff. And then she sort of just puts on a cap and then goes and runs away. And this is where we see like, sort of the girls follow her, like the girls from the book, or on the cover of the book, sort of come alive. They teetered the line of being horrific but also being comical, and I feel like this is where sort of the Jordan Peele nature, the horror comedy or the comedy horror genre he's trying to create. Like, the girls are very creepy, they do all these sort of acrobatic flips and sideways, like, you know, somersaults and all these other things, but then they start like pop locking. And you're just like, even though they're looking horrifying, they sort of have these sort of overly drawn mouths, you know, like we usually see in minstrel show characters, you know, cartoon characters. They have the bows in their hair, with their hair sort of matted and sort of unruly. They also have like sharp teeth, though, to make them even more, you know, ferocious looking and even more demonic. I guess they're sort of the manifestation of, you know, the stereotypes that sort of come to haunt black people and really put black people in real danger. You know, we see this with Emmett Till, you know, we see this with the story and the history of Emmett Till, this sort of idea of the monstrous, aggressive, you know, sexual predator and the sexual nature of black men, like this over-sexualized, hyper-sexualized, aggressive black men caricature that comes out to sort of, you know, rape white women. And rape, you know, to sort of, you know, terrorize good white standing citizens and rape white women and all this other fuck shit that, you know, white people have sort of attributed to black maleness. You know, it comes back to really haunt Emmett Till in the worst way, to the point where he gets so brutally murdered. We see her being haunted by these sort of the manifestation of what those minstrel show characters represent, which is the dehumanization of black girls and black boys and black people just in general. I think that's one of the best parts of this. I wish we got more D and less all of the other characters, because they really started to get on my fucking nerves. They all were getting on my nerves. I can't believe all of these characters were getting on my nerves this whole entire season, except for Montrose and Dee. Like, they were the only two characters that were not like wanting me to turn off the TV. Like, they all become encompassed in their own shit. Like, they sort of forget about this little black girl and the fact that, you know, she doesn't have her mother with her. Her mother's still out there in the universe with, you know, this I Am, you know, Eurythia Blue character that we haven't really gotten to see yet or again. So Letty sort of becomes encompassed within herself. We sort of see the selfishness. You know, Ruby was saying that Letty was selfish in the beginning of the first couple episodes, and we sort of see that selfishness come to pass. Like, she's really been like very caring and very tentative, but now all of a sudden, like, she's become completely encompassed in herself all of a sudden out of the blue. And I really felt like it was very jarring to see that side of Letty, because I haven't, and sort of the same way that it was very jarring to see this, to see the problematic nature of Tick as well. We see Letty completely ignore Dee, even though she's completely distraught and looking for help, and like she's like completely horrified, and Letty's just like, go get a glass of water, I got some other shit to deal with. And I'm just like, well, damn, like, you were just all upset and worried, and now you've completely switched because Jiha shows up out of the fucking blue, like I thought she would. Like, I thought they would. Like, I felt like this introduction to Jiha into the group was so completely like, I don't know, it was just very uneasy, it was just very unsettling, it just made no sense. It seemed only to be for the purpose to cause chaos, just to cause a sort of lover's quarrel to happen between Letty and Tick, even though we know they're going to be together. Like, let's stop fucking playing. Like, why are we even introducing this sort of love triangle? Like, Jiha really, what purpose did she serve other than just to sort of like disrupt the sort of family function that has been going on so far? And only for a moment. Like, it's very, it's like she comes, you know, Letty says, who are you? Because she's sitting, I thought it was a white woman at first. I was like, who is this white woman? Then I realized it was Jiha. Then, of course, Tick comes in and he sees Letty and Jiha sitting down. Of course, Jiha has told Letty everything about what has happened between her and Tick. And Letty is looking disgusted and really annoyed. The fact that, you know, Tick, it's a little bit of both. It's a little bit of two things. One, that Tick has been known about magic all along, and hasn't told anybody about the fact that he has known about magic and monsters and other beings all this time, and he's been acting like it's brand new, while the rest of them have been kept in the dark. But he is also jealous. Of course, they're playing with this whole idea of jealousy. That's, of course, Jiha had him first. That, you know, she is not, you know, I guess she is not, you know, his first true love, but Jiha is. And Tick really treats Jiha very terribly in this scene. Like, he's like, we meant nothing. You meant nothing to me. And it's like, Negro, please. Everybody's first time meant something to somebody. I don't care who you had a first time with, that meant something to you. And especially like the relationship that they have from which we saw in the other episode, whereas Meet Me in the Daegu, they had a very intimate relationship more than just his first time. They actually had an emotional connection as well. And then he goes chasing after Letty. Letty is like screaming and yelling, "Get out! Get out! Get out! Get out! I don't want to see you anymore. I don't care where you go. Just get out of here." Then Tick packs his stuff and she's like, "Where are you going? Where are you going?" I'm just like, what? You just told him to get out. And it's just like this whole like erratic and irrational woman trope that they try to play on in this scene is just really annoying and completely like opposite of what I know Letty to be. Like, don't get me wrong, like Letty's a hothead and she'll give it back to you, but she's also very smart, very intelligent. She usually keeps her cool for the most part. Nobody's making any sense. Nobody is making any sense. Tick and Letty are making absolutely no sense. I don't understand what's going on here. They're both getting on my fucking nerves. Can we go back to D or Montrose, please? Then we get even the worst of it, which is this coon-ass nigga Ruby. Ruby walks her ass back to William's house, back to William/Christina's house, whatever she wants to be that day, a white man or a white woman. You know, she's trying to get her way into the house. This man sees her. He's like, nigga, are you the maid here? And, you know, the white man goes to, like, brutalize her. The white man lives across the street. Pretty much goes to, like, question her and brutalize her. But then we see William/Christina pull up. And he sort of intervenes. They go in the house. They, of course, have sex. You know, she's seemingly distraught. We think she is distraught about, you know, the fact that Emmett Till just died in such a brutal way. But of course, Ruby is selfish as fuck, you know. I don't expect anything less. I've been called this about Ruby for the longest time. I've been talking about Ruby for so long, about how she is a sellout Negro. This whole scene where she turns into a white woman to have sex in this moment with William is not even surprising. And then she has the nerve to try to explain herself to William. She's like, I want you to, I want to Christina, really, because William turns back into Christina, and she's like, you know, the reason why I turned into I just wanted you to know, the reason why I turned into a white woman, because I didn't want, for once, I just didn't want to be a black woman fucking a white man. Not on today, not this day. That's not this day. I couldn't have that. I couldn't have that. You know, because I would feel like a sellout, essentially is what she's saying, essentially what she's alluding to. And Christina is like, bitch, are you kidding? You want to sit here and chastise me. You want me to feel guilty about some shit that I don't feel guilty about. I don't care about Emmett Till. You want me to care about this dude. The truth is that you feel guilty. You feel guilty because instead of being over there with your people, you want to escape all of that. That's why you're over here. You're over here because you don't want to deal with it. You don't want to deal with it. You don't want to deal with the circumstances and the consequences of being black in America, nor do you want to feel any type of solidarity with the black people that are over there, you know, in this together, trying to organize and struggle with, and, you know, sort of come together to struggle with each other. You want to escape blackness. You want to escape, and it's understandable, but just say that. Stop trying to act like you're the one that's not, stop trying to act like I'm the one who should feel guilty. You're the one who feels guilty about it. And I don't like Christina's ass at all. Like, I think she's the second coming of Hitler. But, like, girl, she told you the truth. She told you the truth. Like, you just want to escape your circumstances. You don't want to be black. It's completely understandable why Ruby sees the horrors that come with being black and wants to escape that. It is completely understandable that she does that. But I just don't agree with it, and I don't fuck with niggas that act like that. We also see this very... Like, I felt like the sex scene was very much for shock value. I don't think it added anything to the story at all. Like, to see sort of, you know, Ruby orgasm herself back into a black woman. Like, I was like, okay, what was the purpose of this scene? You orgasmed your way back into a black woman. I don't know what the scene is supposed to symbolize. I don't think it matters. I don't think it's supposed to symbolize anything. I think they just wanted to use some more of that special effects and CGI, and I think they just wanted to do some cool sort of concept art stuff because the story is kind of lacking. The writing is very piss poor. I felt like on this episode in particular, it's not very tight. It's not very... I just didn't feel like any of this propel the scene forward whatsoever. I don't know. We already know that Ruby's a sellout nigga. Like I didn't need to be this didn't need to be sort of reaffirmed for me. But maybe it did for some people. But we also see Christina. This is the part that really sort of pissed me off. I'm just gonna say it. Like, this is the part that really pissed me the fuck off, is when we see Christina sort of reenact Emmett Till's death and Emmett Till's like brutal murder. She has two white men. Where these white men come from, we don't know. There's no backstory to where they come from and who they are and how they played a part in any of this, in anything. But Christina has them sort of punch her and beat her up and brutalize her, then shoot her 2 times in the chest, then tie sort of this like barbed wire around her throat and tighten it, and then throw the barbed wire, roll into the lake, and then drag her into the lake. Christina has them do this, and it's just like, and then she comes back up. We see her sort of almost like a very like devil worshipping baptism. Like, it's a very weird, it's like a ritual in a way. It's like ritualistic in a way. It's very disturbing. It's almost like this evil baptism that you first have to die and then be reborn by the water. She comes up drenched, of course, in the water, almost like she's been dunked her head under, like a baptism. And she comes up and gets back on the dock, and then she starts like crying at first because it was so traumatic, but then she starts cackling, laughing like the witch that she is, like the Nazi witch that she is. And to me, like, I understand where people are coming from when they say, like, the reason why the directors did this, the reason why they had this scene here, is because they wanted to reenact Emmett Till's murder, but not on the body of a black person, but in the body of a white person. But I feel like this is, again, centering the white gaze in order for white people to understand shit that, white people have to see another white person going through. It also reminded me of that scene from A Time to Kill, where Matthew McConaughey is asking the jurors to imagine that, their daughters got raped and gang raped in the woods by some white Klansmen and left for dead. And it goes back to my point that I made in the last episode as well, that I'm really starting to pick up on the fact that this series really centers whiteness in a way that I really don't like. Of course, the white magic, that all of the characters are sort of after white magic, especially in this episode in particular. We see Letty go and meet Christina in the church, and she's sort of doing this prayer. God, protect us from this magic is tempting us and making us go against our better nature. Protect us and keep us from this dark, evil magic. And then Christina, all along she's called Christina into the church to meet her so that she can give Tick spell to make him immortal. So Christina's like, I won't give it to Tick, but I'll give it to you. And Letty at first was like, well, fuck off, bitch. But then she says, wait, and she asks for it anyway. And so it's just like, what is the point of this scene where you just ask the Lord? What is the point of this scene where you just ask the Lord to protect you from this evil white magic, but then you go and you ask for white magic anyway? We also see Tick go and sort of make this deal with the devil, Faustian deal with Christina too, sort of trading the key to the time machine that Christina's been looking for a spell to also be invulnerable as well, and she gives it to him, or she gives him another version of the invulnerability spell, or another like altered version of the invulnerability spell, which you find out later. But it's just like, y'all are all out here seeking white magic and centering white magic. Like we saw in the Holy Ghost episode, black magic worked just fine. Black magic worked just fine and protected you just fine, and even keeps the cops out. We'll get into that later on. And keeps Christina out of too. But we see hoodoo, voodoo magic, whatever she is. Either she's a hoodoo priestess or a voodoo priestess. But she uses black magic to sort of keep them safe. Why are they all after white magic? Why do we need an episode, or why do we need a scene that has nothing to do with the plot, doesn't further the plot at all, and it's really disrespectful the way that Christina is cackling, almost like Christina starts cackling almost like, ha ha ha, like I got away with, like, I died like a black person and I still, my white privilege protected me type of shit. Like, that's what it came across to me as. It was really disrespectful to me, and I really didn't like it. I also don't care to see white people get beat up or brutalized like black people so that they can understand what it was like to be brutalized like a black person. Like, I really don't give a fuck, especially if they're gonna live. Like, I feel like that scene would have been powerful if we had seen Christina, get, brutalized like a black person and die. For real. I feel like that should have been a scene left for the end and like a season finale. That should not have been like, what is this scene doing here if she's just going to survive? Like, what is the message? Okay, that she survived, she died like a black person and her white privilege protected her, and she gets to cackle about it afterwards. Like, what the fuck is this shit? Like, I don't understand the centering of whiteness that goes on in this series, and it's really starting to piss me off. It's really starting to piss me off. I just don't understand why our characters are also now, willfully and willingly seeking out Christina as if she is some type of savior, as if she is some type of white savior. I don't like that shit either. We also see Tick and Montrose have this very, very important discussion about homophobia and, sort of LGBTQ issues. We already know that Montrose had a sort of coming out story already. And Montrose sits down with Tick and talks to him about what happened between him and his mother. Because Tick asked the question, did you ever love my mother? Did you cheat on my mother? And which I don't even think is an important question to even ask. It's an understandable question that Tick asks, but I don't even think it's like that relevant. But it then leads to a deeper discussion about why Montrose felt the need to hide, and he tells his sort of backstory about how, he witnessed people get thrown, get beat up and thrown in rivers. He's already black, and then on top of that, he's also a gay man, and he's seen people get lobotomized and sent to insane asylums. He said, like, I was not going to end up like that by simply living a truth. I was not going to, like, end up being dead all because I wanted to live my truth. I chose to hide. Listen, and if you want to hate, I'm not going to apologize for that shit either. But I also wanted a family. Like, was I wrong for wanting a family? I also wanted a family too. This was the way that I could have one without being killed and murdered. I couldn't have a family with another black man, but I could have a family with a black woman. So my intentions were still the same. I still love you. I know I did wrong by you, but listen, I did what I had to do to survive. And yeah, I was fucked up along the way, and I did that to you, but I'm sorry. And I really love that we reached this conclusion with them, that they come to some type of understanding, and they kind of forgive each other. Finally, we get some semblance of healing. Like, I really want us, like, I feel like we've dealt with, like, throughout this series, we've dealt with a lot of that pain, a lot of those deep-seated issues, either interracially or familially, already. They've already sort of been brought to the light. I really want us to start dealing with the healing and how we come to the healing of these characters. And this was a really nice moment for me. In the way that, like, the whole jihad coming in to sort of mess up the relationship of Tick and sort of create this love triangle thing, like, that didn't do anything for me. Like, I'm like, okay, we need to do healing here between, first of all, Tick and Letty's relationship. It already is messed up a little bit. We've already seen how it has some kinks and cracks in it and how they need to sort of come together. I don't need, like, this sort of trope of a love triangle coming in to sort of wreck that. I need healing more so than that. And I really like the fact that we're at least starting to heal Tick and Montrose's relationship somewhat, and we see them go back together to the house, or to his house, to sort of cast the spell. We find out that not only Montrose he's a black man, he's gay, but on top of that, he's also dyslexic. Also, I find it funny that he still loved reading though. Like, even though he's dyslexic, like, the fact that he still loved reading and found a way to still read and enjoy books. Like, we get that old reference of the Count of Monte Cristo back in, like, episode 2. That he uses, lessons that he learned from that book to sort of get him out and escape the Braithwaite house. Like, I really love the fact that, like, they added in that he's dyslexic and he still learned to love to read. Before Christina gave Tick the symbols that we've been seeing the whole time throughout the entire series is sort of like the symbol for, I don't know if it's invulnerability or immortality or the symbol of Braithwaite, I forget what it is. But anyway, he stands in the sense, they draw the symbol in his blood, in Tick's blood. And they do the spell. Montrose does the spell. Hope, and they hope that he gets it right. That that his mind doesn't scramble up the words. Because dyslexia, you can scramble up letters and words and read stuff wrong. And of course, this is also in a different language as well too. So like, so we don't know if he does it right. But then we find out later on that he actually did do it right, or that I think actually Christina gave them a different version or an alternate version of the invulnerability spell, that it was giving him his own monster. We see Tick get his own sort of, those Dracula vampire dog monsters that I was talking about in the beginning of the episode. If you go back and watch those other videos where I talk about them in the first and second episode, that they're sort of pasty and white looking. Tell me why they gave Tick a black monster. We go to the scene where the officers, they've pretty much left Diana to die. Diana ends up going to them at one point in the scene and telling them to fuck off, calling them pigs. And she's just like, fuck it. If I'm going to die anyway, you've pretty much put a curse on me. I know what you've done. You put a curse on me for these little girls to torment me for the rest of my fucking life. I'm probably going to die. I'm probably never going to see anybody ever again. So I'm going out with a bang. Like, she has no fear. And I really love, well, she doesn't have no fear. We sort of see her teeter between fear and also strength and courage, which I really love. Like, her acting is like superb. It's superb in this scene because we see her just her emotion is just like her eyes. She's trying to be strong, but we also see a little bit of tinge of fear in her as well. Like, she's scared, but she's gonna like fight to the death. Like, she's not gonna go out without a fight. And I really, really, really love that about Diana. She goes up to these fucking cops and she's like, fucking pigs, and she spits back on them, pretty much cursing them, not in the literal way that they cursed her, but in the way, but also kind of in a metaphorical sense, like sort of stamping their death sentence, which I also love comes back around, that the monster that Tick summons inadvertently, or his father summons inadvertently, ends up killing all of the police officers that then go and knock on Letty's door to then like confront them. Ruby, before this moment though, before we even get to the police officers, she has this whole conversation, this whole coon conversation with Letty about, I know Christina, she's my white woman and she put me up on game, and she's bought me some nice things and some nice clothes, and she's got me a potion that turns me into a white woman, and now my credit score is all the way up. You broke niggers over here on the south side. And Letty tries to like get through to her talking about, you can't trust this Christina, which I also feel like is hypocritical as well, because we see Letty also seek Christina's help to then get her the invulnerability spell, because I think Christina kind of knows that Letty is pregnant, that Letty has gotten pregnant, because she makes a comment about how we got to protect the baby or something like that. We got to protect you're now family or something like that. And so she like Letty's like trying to chastise Ruby about trusting Christina, but it's like, girl, your words are hollow, because you just trusted Christina to give you the vulnerability spell. The police come knocking at the door. They want to barge in. The police chief, Lancaster, wants to barge in. He gets stopped by the hoodoo magic. Again, it protects them again. So why are we focused on white magic when black magic is doing the trick? He's like, oh shit, they know about magic too. They really do. They've mastered magic. He thinks that they've mastered some type of magic or whatever. And so they leave kind of scared. And then we see them start shooting into the house, just all willy-nilly. Pretty much just shot. And then everybody sort of hits the deck in the house, because they still have guests there, because they're renting out a lot of the rooms to help pay for the bills. And we see Ruby, and then we also see Letty hit the deck. But then Letty sort of remembers, like, oh shit, wait, I'm invulnerable. Let me go and see if this shit is real. And we see her slowly sort of get up off the floor. And like the bullets are just bouncing. They're not even like connecting at all. They just sort of hit this sort of like protection force field and just sort of bounce off. And she's just looking like, damn, damn, we in this shit for real now. Like, it's almost like it becomes real for her in that moment, that like we're really in this like magical battle with these fucking warlocks and wizards and witches and shit. We see Tick come up and pull up to the house. He sees them, he's running. He's like, holy fuck, they're just shooting into the fucking house. And like he knows that, of course, Letty's in the house and she's pregnant. He also knows that Letty is keeping it from him, that she is pregnant, because he tells Montrose in the scene before not only that he met his son in the future and that he gave him the book of Lovecraft Country. So we're sort of getting this, like, it's sort of weird. He met his future son that sort of wrote down the ending of their story and how it all ends in a book called Lovecraft Country, which of course is playing off the fact that there is a real book called Lovecraft Country by Mark Ruffkin or something like that, or Ruffin. The police turn and see him, and they're like, "Oh shit, a black man!" And they just start opening fire, of course. Like, it's just a black man, and so they're just like, "Shoot him!" So they start shooting at him, but then his sort of black vampire dog, his own personal black vampire dog, pops up out of the ground through the concrete before the bullet reaches him and absorbs it. The black vampire dog actually ends up absorbing all of the bullets and then taking out, I mean, it was so satisfying. It was so satisfying to see finally, again, like that first scene that we see in the first episode where we see those, white vampire dogs completely demolish and obliterate the cops that are trying to, inflict this, lynch, Letty, Tick, and George out in the woods. We see this again. They completely annihilate this vampire dog. Somebody please let me know what these vampire dogs are actually called down in the comments below. Completely annihilates these men in the worst possible way, violates them, throws them through car windows, dismembers them, their heads from their bodies, tears them the fuck up, and it is so satisfying. And then we think that, Letty and Tick run to each other because Letty was trying to get to Tick before they started shooting, because she has the invulnerability spell on her. And so she wanted to go protect him. But before she could do that, of course, the dog comes out of the ground and protects him anyway. They first think that, like, oh, the dogs are back. They think that they're out to get them. And then they figure out, Tick reaches out his hand. The dog actually comes towards them and sort of kind of like in a weird way bows to him. And he puts his hand out and pets him. And that is sort of the end of the scene. We see her fighting she takes like some type of metal pole that she grabs from the office in her mother's shop, or from the car shop or something like that. And she goes in, she locks herself in, she keeps one of the doors open, anticipating the pickaninny girls that are haunting her, coming in to sort of get her. And we see her sort of fighting them, and she was kicking the ass, boy. She was doing her best. We also see her beforehand. She's very smart. Like, Deanna's like, I'm gonna let people know what happened to me. And so she starts drawing, because, Diana is an artist. She draws comics and she creates stories. So she starts, quickly scribbling, what these girls look like, because she's figured out that she's the only one that can see them. Montrose comes in, he sees her swinging at the air, and he's sort of like, oh my goodness, the child has gone crazy, something's wrong. He grabs her. Of course, this is a fatal mistake, because this is when the girls sort of get hold of her, because Montrose has intervened, and she's like, no, they're after me, and we sort of see, a big old scar just appear on her arm, as if they sort of ripped open, her veins on her arm, and we see her scream out in pain, and we also see the girls standing there, looking like, okay, we did our job. It seems like next episode we're gonna deal with possibly Dee turning into a pickaninny herself, or a Jigabobo herself. But I also want to talk about some stuff that happened off camera, off screen, with some of our behind the scenes people that are writing the show. It came out that one of the writers on the show, I think her name is Ahuma Oferdire. She sort of has some old tweets about Black Americans. I'm guessing that she is a continental African or something like that. But it was trending on Twitter. Her name was trending on Twitter, and the fact that she had made some very disparaging comments against Black Americans. But she was also a writer. She was being tagged in a lot of posts about this Lovecraft Country episode, because she helped create it with Misha Green. And a lot of people were like, how do you have a writer that's pretty much calling Black Americans derogatory names throughout her Twitter thread? She said something and one tweet was, I'm going to put it up so you're going to see it in the video, one tweet that she put up was essentially it was adding Wale, which I was like, of course Wale. Of course Wale, like of course, like Wale. What? Tell us about like that's the tweet that I really wanted to see was what is Wale's, what is the tweet that initiated her to tweet at Wale about this, and essentially she's like ha ha ha, at Wale ha ha ha, yeah my mom told me about those Akatas, and not to date them or stuff like that, and it's just like. And people were just sort of like disgusted, like how the fuck are you involved in an episode about Emmett Till, about Black American history and the horrors that Black Americans have to face, and yet you're sort of disparaging the group that you're writing about on the show. Like, you just, like, and it just came across very, like she's an opportunist, pretty much. Like, you don't really like niggas like that. You don't like American niggas like that, but you want to come up off a check off of us. And, like, a lot of people they were tearing her up in the tweets. They were also adding Misha Green, like, you need to fire her, because this is ridiculous. This is disrespectful. She's up here calling black people Akatas, which we've already, like, I don't understand people who still want to have this conversation about whether or not Akata is derogatory. It literally means wild animal, wild cat, somebody who is lost, somebody who has no home. Like, it's disrespectful. It's completely disrespectful. She also had a couple of other tweets that were about Black Americans as well, but I think that was the most offensive one. Like, I don't understand how people are letting people in the writers' room into the writers' room of Black America that are supposed to be about Black Americans, and they don't have any sort of affinity or any sort of positive feelings to say about Black Americans in public. Like, it's just crazy to me. It's an old issue. It's an old diaspora war issue that I've already talked about in my Cynthia Erivo video that I'll link in the description box below. I already talked about that. Cynthia Erivo calling Black Americans ghetto, but she wants to play Black Americans. And one of the most prominent African Americans, Black Americans, Harriet fucking Tubman at that. She wanted to talk about how we're ghetto and all this other shit, and how she has to, degrade, I guess, lower her standards of what acting should be to play Black American roles. And it's just like, it's just again and again, this issue keeps coming up. I would even understand if the girl came out and she issued an apology, but she hasn't. It's not surprising that she hasn't. I'm pretty sure she still feels the same way. Misha Green won't address it either. And she'll probably still have her on in the writer's room. And she'll probably even bring her on into another project. They're going to use us to come off a check. But that's all that we're good for, is a check to them. And it's really fucking disrespectful at this point. It really left a bitter taste in people's mouths about this whole entire series. And I can't blame them. Let me know what you think about the episode as a whole as well, how it's going along. And I will see you all next time, hopefully for the next video. Feel free to like and share and comment if you want to. I'll see you all next time for the next video. Hope you're all staying safe, staying sane, staying healthy, because there's a lot of shit going on in the world that I want to do videos on as well, because I haven't had time to do it, because my schedule is very hectic with teaching. I might actually do a video about my teaching one day if people want it. But yeah, I will see you all next time, and hope you all have a good week.